Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Comics Rant. I'm your host, Arvin Bautista, and welcome to the show. It has been a while since I've done one of these types of episodes. Usually I'm just flipping through comics or talking about other comics. But I think I'm starting to turn these types of episodes to be more like a video log of my work, where I've been. It helps me decompress. To be honest, guys, it's been kind of crazy. This past 2025, this is the end of the year, so I guess I kind of need it. If just for myself, thank you for joining and watching this channel. But it is nutty in the world of art and digital art nowadays, and I'm in the video game industry, and it is not looking great in terms of jobs. I made it through this past year. Not bad. Didn't make as much as last year, but enough for my family. So that's a pretty good thing to be thankful about. Anyway, this past year, I was part of this comic book festival, I guess, or celebration that was hosted by the Bay Area Libraries, really, the Peninsula Library Organization. And at the library close to me in South San Francisco, it was a really nice library. They hosted a indie self-publishing con. It was kind of like this mini Comic Con, and anybody could apply. The tables were free, and they really wanted to promote comic books and local talent. And so I published this book, self-published this book. It's called Superheroes vs. Robot, and this is the Ashcan edition. It was black and white, and it was actually bigger, but it wasn't cost effective for me to sell. And it's just really tough, like it is for the love of this stuff. But if I'm losing money printing this stuff while I'm trying to find full-time work, it's just not good business, guys. It's not good business. So I busted it down to this smaller, I guess, digest manga-ish size. Right. And this was a little easier of a cost for me to swallow. And I've been going out to comic book stores. I've gone into 3 stores in the Bay. I need to keep doing it. I need to keep hustling and just print out more copies. It's just been kind of crazy. And this is the copy I've been trying to sell around among other books that I have. This has always been all black and white, and I really like how, it was easy for me to produce and, really fast. And I can just make multiples of this fairly easily. I still have to cut it, but it's pretty good. And I think it's a pretty good value for what it is. However, I got these pens from Japan. They are in previous episodes. I've gotten these pens from Japan. I wanted to experiment with these colors, and I actually started with a copy of this, and I just started coloring on it, and I was like, I kind of like this one color thing going on, and it kind of works with the kind of art I want to present. So the trouble with this book, any other better colorist can probably figure this out, but trouble with this book is that I want to maintain this kind of high contrasty thing. And here, I'll show you some of my tests here. So when I had these pens, I just kept messing around, and I think this may have been the first one. And I used a couple colors here of these greens, a flat color, and then this lighter limey green to do some color tests. And I kind of like how it lays down on my drawing, but not take over the contrast. Like the color's still there, but the stark contrast still exists, and it doesn't get eaten away. That said, I tried another one with this darker blue, and that to me takes over the contrast. The contrast that I was working on with these kind of compositions. And, it's kind of cool. It has this pink, it's pretty neat. And, I used this lighter blue. And then I was like, all right, let me try this other idea that I had. So I'm even coloring the word bubbles here to kind of get an idea of what this book would look like. And, it's the same deeper blue, but then I used a lighter blue, I think same lighter blue as this one, on these, what are these called? These little dividers on the clock face, or on the building's face, right? And it's subtle, but you can see what's going on here. Like the contrast that I want is still there. You can see it here. You can compare, right? And then all blue, which is nice. Because at this point I was thinking, okay, I still want it simpler. I want it simpler than this because this is 2 colors of blue. Now I'm like trying to just merge these colors nicer, make them fade into each other. And I don't want that. I really don't want that. I'm already making so much work for myself. I don't want that. So I need it to be a little bit easier to apply. That, and also the color theory that I'm kind of working on here, it's kind of like these old school comics. I loved old school comics and how they were they had such limits on their colors that they would use these crazy colors to do certain things. And some of the better colors, you could see that they're not trying to depict it as a real style of coloring, but it would become like this emotional kind of coloring. And nothing wrong with the real style coloring, by the way. I like all the modern techniques, but it seemed to work with my stuff. This old school way of thinking worked with my stuff better. And I liked it as a storytelling function. You can't quite see this blue. It looks pretty faded on this camera, but it's actually a little bit more tealy, if that's a word. It looks a little bit more tealy. I guess kind of like how this one looks, just lighter. A little more tealy, and it's just one color. And I definitely am maintaining my contrast, the original black and white contrast here. And I can show you how it turned out. Let me flip through this page. So right here, what ended up happening was, I just wanted this one color, monochromatic really, and then we hit it with one highlight color, just like when I stumbled into these guys. It was more pink, and I think I did this with my family. I was like, do you like this one or this one better? Everybody was like pink. And I'm like, yeah, good. That's what I picked. Perfect. Good, family. Good. So then I just kind of like this way of coloring because, again, it maintains my black and white contrast that I work so hard to keep, high contrast stuff, but it also adds to the storytelling now. It adds moments of like highlight and impact, right? Like this is like, and watch me do highlight and impact with my fingers. Highlight and impact, that makes for a pretty good read, a more variation in the emotion of the read. It's cool and then hot, cool and hot, cool and hot. So it's always fun to kind of figure out that spot in a page. And at a certain point earlier on, I had felt like, I need to always have that cool and hot on each page, but it's not really that necessary. In fact, the more I kind of pulled back on the hot, the crazier contrast it would be when it does show up. So the only character in this book that will have 2 colors on them is this guy, and because he will have the red eyes, but he'll always be this blue. And that's the rule I kind of set to myself. Like, it's not going to appear on other people. Now, that said, the next page is all these pinups of my characters, and this is the first time you see them. I kind of was agonizing over this, like, so should it all just be pink? And, when they show up, and I opted not to do that, and I kind of like that decision better. Now, they're never going to look like this anywhere else. This is where I'm going to keep it. I want to keep the rules of the way I colored this simple, similar, and kind of like easy to follow. I'm not trying to throw so many things at you or myself, so I don't have to kind of agonize over how things are balanced. So the only time I'd have a kind of like a different color, it was really in the shade, right? This is the same. This has an added red to it. These pens that I use, you can kind of just rub these 2 brush tips together and you can get like mixed colors on the fly. It's really fun. Anyway, so even after all this, once they're introduced, it goes back to that color scheme. And here's an example of what I was saying about not every page has to have a red. You can hit that red in relation to where it is in the sequence. So for this, that's exactly what happens. There's no red here, but then all the red happens here. And now these two pages actually are kind of cool next to each other. They might not be as fun separate. They're fine, right? I mean, this is pink, so you can't really get away from that. But together, I think it's stronger because there's definitely a flow that happens, like an excitement that is kind of like telling you, whoa, it's going to get crazy. And so, certain pages, I think I'm able to throw that pink around more, and it's a lot more fun. This one kind of worked out pretty well. And some of these sequins, I'll be like, oh, I have to resist the tendency to always add this pink. Just because it's so fun to add this pink. It's great. It's also on a great brush, so it's fun to do. Anyway, so I have to keep drawing this, and as I'm drawing this, of course, or coloring this, of course, and I go to different public libraries while I have been looking for work to do this stuff and exploring different public libraries. It's been a lot of fun. And while I'm doing this, I ended up figuring I need more pages. Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I need more pages. So this sequence, I can use our prototype here. Sequence, and then it's the punch, and then dun dun dun, right? And then it's end of the book. I wanted to add more pages. So I want to add another splash here, an even bigger double page splash for this punch. And then there's going to be another splash here, which is kind of originally planned anyway, and one more page. So I just added 5 more pages to my workload and to color. It'll be all really fun. I think it'll all be really cool. And I swear that'll be the last time I add to this issue. And then I'm going to move on to the next issue. So that's the work that I was doing for this one. On top of this, I made actually, I think I have it here on my iPad. So I'm kind of jumping back and forth on all these things. Okay, so here's the other page. I get to kind of show it to you guys here. That last one that we were looking at. So I'll kind of mock up just the feel. It's not even the color. I'm just trying to see like how 2 colors will play against each other when they're next to each other. So that same idea I showed you earlier with the little girl will now also happen within these 2 pages. And I'm kind of excited to really draw this, but I haven't been able to because I will show you. I have been busy doing these sketches. So the other project that I'm working on is my daughter plays for a harp ensemble, and they had a fundraiser to generate funds and to help the ensemble go places and for all the supplies and all that kind of stuff. So with every fundraiser, I feel bad asking for so much money. And so what I've been doing is I'll do an ink sketch for everybody that will give me money, give my daughter's harp ensemble money. And it is quite amazing to see my friends come out in full support. I'm very thankful for them because some of them dropped some serious cash, guys. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I think I need to give you 10 sketches for this. But anyway, they just wanted to donate to a good cause. They know me, and some of them aren't even thinking about the sketch. Obviously not, right? Like they're just kind of thinking of supporting. But I asked for what they would like me to draw. And I have a limited set of themes that you can kind of pull off of. And I'm always happy when somebody says Batman, because that is pretty darn easy for me to crank out. Now, this is a friend of mine from high school, and he said he wanted Batman. So here's Batman. I sketched Batman really quick with reference from movies, right? And, we both grew up loving Michael Keaton Batman. So, of course, that's kind of what I'm referencing on. I looked at like Jerry Ordway stuff, and then after that, I inked it. What's funny is I will kind of transfer it onto the page using the iPad as a light box, and then just sketch it really quick because I kind of know what it's going to look like. Some details might be there, but most of the work will happen in ink. So here you go. Here's the final sketch. So this is one of them. I gotta do, is it 6? I gotta do 6 of these. And they're actually not, they don't take me that long. It's just right now I have like so many things on my plate that my brain is getting pulled 5 million ways to Sunday. Okay, so then I have all these sketches of that. The next one I'm working on is this. A friend of mine is a Toronto's Raptors fan, and his girlfriend loves Miyazaki. So obviously, I'm going to have Toronto Raptors I know, I'm cheesy, to ink. It's like this crossover that I don't know why I haven't thought of this much earlier. But now I transferred this from here, right? So that's how loose my sketch will be. Try to get an idea. And then I transfer it over to this, and now I'm going to ink it. I have to debate on whether I want to color it or not, because I don't have any gray colors for Batman, and I feel bad just giving this guy black and white, and then this guy black and white in color. Right? Is that fair? I don't know. Anyway, that's that. And then on more things to look at. My wife had her birthday, so I made this comic strip that is also a part of my other book that I actually sold at that convention, South San Francisco, for Rockets and Ninjas, which was my proposal comic book to my wife. I've renamed it to Holy Matrimony. And now this is interesting because now I can actually share backstory on this. So this is a comic strip. I don't know if you've read it already, but I mean, from me holding it. But one day in South San Francisco, that's where I am. There's an alarm that goes off. She runs into the secret room, and she goes into this costume room, and that's costume number 1, which is the ninja costume. And she does this look, and she's like, nope, nope, nope. And then she goes to costume number 39, and it's this Wonder Woman costume, Wonder Mama costume. She's like, nope, nope, nope. And then she goes to costume number 47, and she's like, oh, heck yeah, toothpick. Or, well, at this point, I don't think you know what it is. I think I colored this yellow. This must be an old draft, but this was like a gold yellow. And then the last panel is Secretarial D. My wife loves initial D. So she becomes Secretarial D. My wife became the secretary for our kids' school, in the school office. And so this is my oldest and this is my youngest right here. And I am terrible with likenesses, but I actually got them in these. That's what they look like. They really don't have any noses. Neither does my wife. They take after her. Just kidding. Anyway, so this is, I think in the final version, this is gold. And I don't know if you guys have seen, this is a super old reference, Amazing Stories. It's a TV show from the 90s, late 80s, produced by Steven Spielberg. These short sci-fi-ish stories. And it's this one episode of a guy trapped in the cockpit of like a bomber in World War II. And he can't get out. And I think the landing gear dies in the plane, and I'm going to spoil it for you. Landing gear dies in the plane. The guy likes to draw, so I think he starts like drawing cartoon landing gears. And then by the end of the episode's fantastic. By the end of the episode, they manage to land, and they have no idea what just happened. And they come out of the plane, and they see there's these cartoon landing gears. I think they were gold yellow, cartoony landing gears that he imagined. And once he passed out at this point, that he imagined. And once he got out and woke up, the landing gears disappeared and the plane crashed. But they were all safe and out. Anyway, long rant. That is kind of what I'm pulling off here, trying to pull here. So she has the golden steering wheel. She is the school secretary, and she's secretarial drifting through work. Okay. The backstory. Oh, well, you can hear. How about this? So that was my reference. It's this Drake meme. I think these memes are going really fast. This is already really old. This like for old people memes, apparently. But some people still get it. My wife did not. She's not really into memes. I guess not this one. But that is what this is in reference to. Anyway, so okay, the backstory in this, I actually have another comic that I want to do. I'm not there yet, but this is kind of my take on what's going on. Like I just told you, I had lost my job. And fortunately, my wife has this job. Now, to me, that's kind of like a superhero thing right there, because this job is great. It, covers our costs for the girl's tuition. She has income, and so it kind of helps us hobble along while I look for another job. So the comic that I'm going to make before this will be about that. I haven't quite put it together yet, but it again, a lot of this comic book itself takes our lives and kind of puts a superhero filter on it. And that's what I'm going to do with the other comic. Okay. So that's another project. I pulled that off, fortunately, in time for my wife's birthday. And then in the middle of all this, so if I'm doing some of this work, and like, this sketching thing that I'm doing is all traditional, so I have to sit down, I have to be on a table. But if we're like traveling and doing, bringing my daughter to harp classes and stuff like that, we're in the car for like 45 minutes, an hour. So I have time, and I will draw. I will draw digitally, because that's the beauty of digital, right? It's all in my lap. So I've been coloring pages of my book, The Bomb Squad. This is the 4th issue, the last of the series, last of the first volume. And here I can kind of show you where it started. So it's kind of like this. This is the chief character that I have here. And there's a sketch, and he's gonna punch this dude, this robot. Oop. And this actually had a lot of trial and error that I had to go through with this color scheme. It's not that complicated, right? You kind of try to look at it, and you're like, oh, you're only really using 2 types of colors here, orange and blues. But I kind of had to arrive here because I didn't really have this scheme quite locked down. Sometimes I wonder why I try to think about this stuff too hard, or I'm just thinking about it way too hard. And so it kind of comes from this. There's a sequence here. Let me go back a little bit more. You can kind of see it here, roughly. There's a fight going on. It's this character versus a robot. I'm using that pink that I love, right? That you saw in Superheroes versus Robots. And, he's kind of getting his butt whooped, basically, by this robot, right? And then, so it's using this pink and blue scheme. And I'm using a different color when he turns the tables on this robot. And that's where this yellow and orange come in. You're not really gonna see it, but it is quite distinct. So like, we're all going, robot color is like pink, basically, right? Robot winning color is pink. And then when he starts winning, it goes orange. So I kind of wanted to show that there's like a change of tone, I guess tone, obviously, like color and tone, right? But also change in who's winning, like in the story itself, right? So now he's on the up, and he's winning. And now I have to kind of use this color scheme without losing everybody and why I'm using this color scheme. Not too much, his colors are still very similar to what he usually is. He's only going to be in this color scheme because he's kind of getting the effect, right? Like otherwise, in this, he still remains his color scheme. It's just the background is now orange. And that presents a lot of problems when most of the color theory from the previous pages are working off of this pink. It was easier to balance it. So now I kind of had to find this orange. And who knows what this is going to look like in print. I'm not thinking too far ahead. I'm just trying to get it done, guys. And that's about what I've been up to. Now that I think about it, I just kind of like had to think of what else I have to do. So now between these 3 projects, you know what? Oh my gosh. Between these 4 projects and more, really, there's this other book. So this is another book that I also released. during that con, and it's more personal book. It's kind of like a memoir, but told a memoir of my years in college, but told through my homework. And I think I had an episode that was explaining that. So, as you know, this has already been printed, but it's not fully done. There's still it's an anthology book. There's still a couple pages for this one short story. The first short story is all done, but then I have 2 more short stories at the end. And this one actually exists in how exists already. So a lot of storytelling beats are already figured out because this was from homework from before. This one is from a senior film. So I kind of have to translate that from film to comics, which I'm actually very excited about. So I'm very excited about all these projects that I'm going to do. It's just there's so much. There's so much. So I kind of have to kick myself in the butt and tell myself to, pick one and finish it. Now, the very obvious one to finish first would be these sketches, because these are thank you cards and I just gotta get them out before Christmas. So that gets locked in there. But I'm so excited about all these other projects that I have that I keep getting distracted, along with managing my aunt's estate and, trying to find a job and cooking dinner, blah, 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 along with life. I have no idea how comic book artists are able to do this on a regular, to be honest. I want to be doing this on a regular, but how do they balance this stuff, guys? I have no idea. Anyway, that's all the time for today. Thank you for sitting around. If you made it this far, much appreciated that you sat around listening to this. If you are a bot, thank you for being a bot and giving me views. And that's it for this episode, Comics Rant. I will see you guys next time.